We're going to be Game Changers TV, Game Changers Media Network, Officer Rafiq, Ahmad. We're talking about guns and gang violence in this part 2 of this interview. He is the president of the Georgia chapter of Noble. Noble is the national organization of black law enforcement executives.
Yes, sir.
Correct? All right. Just want to let you guys know that gun violence in America, gangs in America. Where do we start?
That's an interesting question. A very nuanced, answer probably.
Okay.
And first, I don't want to have anybody say, "Oh, man, he's on this program, this show, and he's perpetrating an officer." So I'm a federal agent, and I've always been on the federal side.
Okay.
After that's, there's a little bit of a distinction because, like I say, I think some of the actual police officers, street officers, have some of the most dangerous jobs.
Right.
And not that the federal agent isn't, but much respect, to all those officers who I've worked with, over the years and have learned from. The gun violence piece is, like I say, a very nuanced thing because, and I'll start this. I'll go backwards, right? So we always hear about gun violence, and then we'll see Chicago, or we'll see some inner city where there's a prevalence of shootings.
Mm-hmm.
And we should talk about that because as I talk in the first segment of this, there's two parts of this. There is the public policy and then there's personal responsibility.
Right.
So when people talk about what, is it a white versus black, there's nobody, in the white community that's making us pick up guns and be violent against each other. That's a personal responsibility.
Right.
Thing. That's something that, that we have to deal with internally as far as our own communities. The reason why I say I wanted to go backwards is because when we start talking about guns, gun violence, we have to talk about that as a whole thing and not where there's a piece where this is a gun violence as it relates to, I hate using the term, I hate even hearing the term black on black crime.
Right.
There's no such thing.
Okay.
Most crime, let me say this, let me back up. It's not that there's no such thing. Most crime is intraracial. You commit crimes against those people that you live around.
Wow.
So there's white on white crime, there's Asian on Asian crime, there's Hispanic on Hispanic crime because that's who you live around. That's who you're going to commit the crimes, against is those people that you live around. So the black on black crime is no anomaly, and this is this other thing.
Right.
But I think it's interesting how we look at guns and crime, and how we look at that through two different lenses. And I'll explain that to you. When police officers, because we're guilty, of this from a law enforcement perspective, but also from a community perspective.
Right.
When we see a person, when we see a white person with a firearm,
Okay.
Or in certain other circumstances,
Right.
the lens that we look at or view that person through is the Constitution. We say, hey, this person has a gun, but Second Amendment right. Or, hey, it's open carry state. Or, hey, this person has, so we always are looking at that in most cases through the lens of the Constitution.
Wow.
When we're looking at someone that's not a person, that's a person of color, be that black or brown, we're looking at that same situation with this individual through the criminal code. That makes a huge difference because Georgia is Georgia all day.
Yeah.
It's Georgia when this person is carrying a weapon.
Right.
It's still Georgia when this person is carrying a weapon. So why are we looking at this person through the criminal code? Because that dictates the response to that individual versus this person that we're looking at through the Constitution. And so sometimes these things are self-fulfilling prophecies. When we look at a person and we attach criminality to them, sometimes they display criminality because that's what we attach to them. So that's a part that's kind of overarching that we need to pay attention to. How are we viewing these two people in these same, with this same incident, and why are we viewing them through these two different lenses?
One black, one white.
Yes.
And both, and let's not forget, Neither one of these guys are criminals. Just a black guy carrying a gun, a white guy carrying a gun in Georgia in an open state, and we have two different perspectives.
Yeah. And so now this is not anything that I've done a study on.
Right.
But I've studied on.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I've seen this and said, hey, why is this person given the benefit of the doubt?
Right.
Which that's what we all supposed to get. So it's not that this lens is wrong, it's that this lens just doesn't go far enough. It doesn't extend to these other people. It's the same lens should be on this situation as it is on this situation.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, we bring another lens to this situation. That's the stuff that we hear about unconscious bias and things like that. But that's a manifestation of that.
Right.
And when you hear people, I don't know much about, I never heard about critical race theory until, this year. Okay. When a number of people, brought it up for a number of different reasons.
And how long had you been in law enforcement when you heard about that?
Oh gosh, this is my 34th year in in the business as far as being
you don't even look 34 years old, man. You don't even look 34 years old. So you're telling me you've been serving as a law enforcement officer for 34 years and you've never heard of critical race theory or even studied it or looked into it?
No, never even studied. Now I understand the concept.
Okay.
I understand that when people say things about systemic racism, they're talking about what we just talked about.
Okay.
What they're talking about is this is the same situation. It's a guy with a gun.
Oh, wow.
But when you respond to this guy and you apply all these constitutional principles. Hey, open carry, Second Amendment. This guy has this right, he has this right, he has this right.
Right.
This guy, you're saying, what are you doing with that gun? What are you doing around here? Get on the ground. So now this is going to shape this person's perspective because guess what? They know that other person's in Georgia too.
Right.
Perhaps they may have read the Constitution. We're not giving them the benefit of their own intellect to say, maybe this guy studied the Constitution too, and he knows or she knows that they're supposed to get this treatment right here, but why are they getting this treatment?
That's deep.
So you have that piece at the top.
Okay.
Then you have the piece of how, when you start talking about gun violence, you have to have the gun available to commit the gun violence.
Right.
So when you start talking about systemic things, all of these things, it's not one thing. You're talking about socioeconomic conditions.
Okay.
If there are if businesses are not in a particular area, then the schools erode because those teachers are not going to stay in an area where their salary, which is already low, is lower.
Wow. Because
they're in a poor income or low income area. They're going to go to a higher income area where they can earn more.
Right.
So then you have schools that become inferior, where you have more students than you have teachers. You have old textbooks. You have people, you have a lack of, technology in these schools. So as the economy goes, sometimes the schools go, and then crime is not far behind it. You've created an environment where opportunity is small or it doesn't exist. And like they say sometimes about certain places, the cost of living is going up, or the chance of living is going down.
Wow.
So it's like when you create this environment, now you've created a mentality of, well, in order for me to get something, I'm gonna have to take because there's limited opportunity, and so I don't see, even though it's there, I just don't see. I can't see past my circumstances.
Right.
So when you put things in, and just do a test, just drive around in some places, whether it's in Riverdale or some places, in our local area. In certain areas, the types of stores that you see there, kind of fit what they consider is the income for that area.
The narrative.
So when you see check cashing places or nail, shops and things like that, you go to Peachtree City and you see Apple stores and, Abercrombie and Fitch, you see all this type of stuff.
Right.
We buy that stuff too. Why is that store only over here? Why do I go all the way over there to get that and then face what? Being viewed through that criminal code, what are you doing over here? Why are you over here on the ground? So I'm creating a self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways, just because of the duality of those lenses.
Okay.
And so that's one piece. Then in these neighborhoods, there's liquor stores all over the place.
Okay.
When I was in Baltimore, I did a test one time, and I went and counted the number of liquor stores that were in a 3-4 block radius. And it was over 10 or more liquor stores that were in this radius.
Right.
Why are there so many liquor stores in my community? But when I went out to the county, there may have been one liquor store in that whole community.
Right.
But why was that allowed in my community?
In Henry County, it's like three liquor stores, and all of them are like maybe say 15 to 20 miles apart.
Yeah. So you don't need that much. You don't need that many liquor stores.
Right.
In it. So we can't just talk about the gun violence without talking about all the things that kind of create a subculture for gun violence. People say, "Oh, is it the music? You know, is it the no?" Why? Because any rap artist will tell you if they're honest.
Right.
Most of them don't go platinum. You can't go platinum without what? White people buying your album.
That's right.
So if the psychology of listening to the music made you want to go out and shoot, then we would have a whole bunch of shootings in the white areas.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that's buying most of the music.
That's right.
And
they pumping it hard. In big boy trucks, sitting on what is those called? Lift kits and big monster tires. And I mean, they come riding harder than the boys in Chevys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they go to the concerts. You know, movies. You know, most of these movies don't star us. You know, so it's not like we're gonna watch Belly and then everybody's gonna go out and criminal just because of that one movie where there was some black people.
Right.
You know, there's tons of movies that have, you know, shoot 'em ups, that's white movies, but we even view those movies differently. Remember I told you about the lens.
Right.
So why was Sopranos the biggest TV show on TV? But then anytime you see a show where there's, you know, The Wire or something like that, they don't speak ill about The Wire because it was so phenomenal.
Exactly.
But when you have other shows that promote gang life, now don't let anybody tell you wrong. The Sopranos, that's a gang.
Right.
And it's called Mafia. You know, so but that was a show where it was highly acclaimed, but it's about gang life.
Right.
It's just white people in gang life.
Right.
But we're looking at that as if that's some type of savvy or that's cool or whatever, but we're looking at this other thing totally different. So we got to get that lens fixed, for one.
Right.
But then we start talking about the socioeconomic conditions that make it right for this gun culture.
Okay.
And then the prevalence of the guns. You know, so for the first half of my career, or the first third of my career, that's what I did. I went to gun shops all around, parts of the country, where I saw, how these gun dealers were, they're selling guns, to people like you and I who come in.
Right.
So I saw the type of guns that were in. Remember I told you, you go to certain neighborhoods, check cashing place, and so guns are like that too.
Okay.
I go to a certain area, I'm going to see guns in this gun shop.
Right.
Cheap guns. It's $150 for a gun. Or a Tech 9 or something. They don't sell those in all neighborhoods.
That's just to get started, the $150 guns, because what I'm seeing is an abundance of, I'm thinking 20 years. How old you have to be in Georgia to buy a gun? 18?
You have to be 18 to have a handgun. 18
to have a handgun. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of young people. They may be 21.
21 in a handgun, 18 for a long gun.
18 for a long gun, okay. I see an abundance, and when I say an abundance of African-American boys, when they go in the store now, they going for ARs, they're going for Dracos. It's like, I mean, what?
It's internet culture. It's things that they're seeing on the internet. No, I'm gonna give you one. Terminator.
Okay.
I used to watch the movie all the time. So in Terminator, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger with a pistol grip pump shotgun.
Pump shotgun, okay.
So dummies like myself went out and got pistol grip shotguns, and if you've ever shot one, you understand that the load that he has in that movie is not the one you bought.
Right.
When you shot the thing and your wrist almost came off.
Yeah.
But these are things that we get from the glorification of the movies or the internet. Right now, the internet is a tool, but it's a monster.
Okay.
All in and of itself. Things that go on the internet, they go quote unquote viral. And people don't do any research, they just go and act on what they've seen on the internet. That's why you see the ARs. Now a lot of the guns that we're seeing on the street, they come from thefts.
Theft by taking? Or just robbery? Or
breaking into gun dealers. They're robbing train cars that have these they said robbing, but they're breaking into train cars where these guns are, because some of these are transported by train. They learn to know which trains possibly have something like that, and they break into them.
Okay.
So a lot of them are stolen from law-abiding citizens. You know,
Right.
so people say, why did you do gun buybacks? Only law-abiding citizens that's going to give back their guns. Yeah, but if you're a person who doesn't really need to have a gun, you just have one because you thought you needed protection, or you went to school, but you don't really store your gun, correctly. There's people who will go up and down the highway, going past hotels, breaking into cars and stealing guns.
Right.
There are people who are going into hotels and leaving guns in the car.
Okay.
So criminals adapt, they learn, then they act. They view soft, targets or targets of opportunity.
Right.
So when they see habits, then they say, okay, well, this is the easy way to actually get guns. They may not keep those guns, but they'll sell them. So most criminals don't buy guns legally. They do illegally, either by burglaries, break-ins, or something we call straw purchases, where they get someone else, usually a female, to buy the gun for them.
Okay.
Buy guns, plural, because in Georgia, I don't know if you ever saw a movie called, Strap.
Yeah.
So Strap is based on a story. It starred Joaquin Woodbine, but it was a story based on some guys from New York that came where? To Georgia.
To Georgia.
And bought guns because the laws here were more relaxed than they were in New York. So they would buy guns and then go back to New York and sell them. That was in the 80s.
Okay.
And that's still happening now. Georgia is still up there as far as the source states. So a lot of these guns are coming in, from people who otherwise, were law-abiding, who actually were duped into buying guns from someone else, not understanding that a lot of these guns have become crime guns.
Okay.
So the prevalence of guns, with a kind of attitude of, I don't know, I think some of our young folks, they don't think past next week.
Right.
That may be giving them too long.
Okay.
Some of them only think past the next day.
Yeah, the next day. Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's not just in the criminal culture. When you see some of these guys who are in, the rap culture, their savings plan is the next show.
Okay.
So that's it. They're gonna get this money. They're gonna blow. They're gonna get a bag, blow a bag, get another bag. That's how.
That's it. That's it.
So as opposed to saying, hey, I made $100,000 off of this show. Hey, I got 2 kids. Let me go ahead and put 3/4 of it up for one of my kids, and then I can blow, the rest of it.
Out the rest of it.
Yeah. Think like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of our young people, because they don't have, not that they don't have mentorship, but we make the mistake of saying that they don't have mentorship.
Okay.
They have the what? I said it before. They copycats, but they copying the wrong cats.
Copying the wrong cats.
So you have to look at these other people who say, hey, I'm gonna take this money, invest this money, because that's the only reason why you're working, is to make money and be able to
live a certain way.
live it. But if you don't see yourself living past 25, then why would you stack any money?
Wow.
For that long. If you see yourself as surviving, and so some of these people, like you and I,
right.
We're living.
Okay.
They're waiting to die.
Wow.
You see what I'm
Wow.
saying?
It's almost like an honor to die.
Yeah.
I think, what's that movie called? Not a movie, it's a game out, Call of Duty or something like that. It's like the kids now kind of feel like they can shoot each other up. Oh, he's dead, and he's gonna come back and get another life. Like I could just get another life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, but that's a way of thinking. They're not thinking long term. They're not even thinking really short term. Their goals aren't like people that have come before them.
Right.
Now I said this before because I believe it. Part of it's our fault.
Okay.
Because if you are OG, but you haven't reached back to bring somebody else along with you, or you haven't gone back to make sure that you check these young guys. Now when you go back, they're not trying to hear it.
Wow.
It's like if you were a dad and your son saw you when he was 4 or 5 years old, you disappeared. You come back, after your son is 16 or 17. Now you're trying to tell your son how to shave. I don't need that. Dad, I had a beard when I was 13. I needed that back then. Now you're coming saying 16 and 17, saying do it like this or do it like this. You missed that.
You missed that.
So part of that's our fault because we didn't actually go back and do what we needed to do to make sure we brought those folks, forward. Now, are we responsible for the gun culture? No. No, it's something that, like I said, is a larger thing, and we're band-aiding it by saying, okay, we'll make this law, we'll do this, but we're not dealing with the whole thing. When I grew up, there were rec centers. Okay. There were places where I could go and sign up and play basketball. Right. Or sign up to play football or learn, a trade or something like that. They don't have that now. So these young people, they entertain themselves. Most kids, my punishment was I couldn't go outside. Okay. Right? And so my mom, I told you she's an educator, but she's also a deep thinker, right? So I would get a week of punishment. Okay. So I come up, I finish my week, say, I'm done, finish it. You still got a couple more days. Like, wait a minute, you said I had 5 days. I started Monday, today is Friday. So now remember it rained 2 days last week.
Oh man, wow. Wow.
Rainy days don't count.
She was for real.
You want to go outside anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the punishment, not going outside.
Okay.
But now you can't get kids to go outside.
At all.
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
All these other, that's not to mention, see, all this stuff goes back to
YouTube
and one root thing that's as old as time, sex and violence. So it all goes back on YouTube. The most successful YouTubers on Instagram, Twitter, or what? The people who post things that get followers, likes. You know, I didn't mention Facebook, but this is what. So how do they get that?
Yeah.
If you're a guy, it's got to be savage.
Right.
That's somebody getting beat up, shot, stabbed, killed.
Yeah.
You know,
you gotta show your guns. Gotta show your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a woman, you know, skin. That's what
Right.
sells the most. You know, how much do I show? What do I do? Whatever.
Right.
Sex and violence. So those things are now on steroids because it's on the internet.
Yes. Because you can subscribe. Because you can see a girl naked for $10 a month now.
You can see it for nothing.
Yeah.
You go right now on the phone, you see it for nothing.
For nothing.
I wonder why the dude's paying $10 a month.
Yeah. Why you going to fans on it? Because it's naked on Instagram. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's so prevalent that now you got to worry about your child when you just bought a smartphone because they can see sex for nothing. They can see naked girl for nothing. They 12. So when we start talking about the guns, the gun violence, my point has always been we as the people who are on the side where we're saying, hey, this is the good side.
Right.
Got to step our game up.
Okay.
Because we don't know how to compete. We're in the VHS age.
Right.
And these folks is on the 4K.
Streaming.
Yeah.
That not even, we were in VHS, we passed DVDs and CDs, we're streaming now.
They way over here. So if we go into them and we saying that, you know, I gotta come to you and sit down and talk to you, they like, no, they doing this through the internet. They doing this through Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, all this stuff.
Right.
You gotta catch up. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And then the message has to be a message that's catchy.
Yeah.
Because if I'm saying, hey, go to school, get a job, and they say, do what, work? I just went on the internet and made $1,000.
That's right.
But then you saying, well, how did you make that $1,000? They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't understand digital footprint. They don't understand that once you do this and you hit, you know, send, it's gone.
Yeah.
Ain't coming back.
Yeah.
So now your kids, whenever they get a chance to be 12 and get that phone, they might see you on there.
Yeah.
Naked.
Yeah.
But they're not thinking like that. And so when we start talking about a violent culture, what they see is what they'll be, right?
Okay.
So when we talk about a violent culture, we think we're saying things one way in a political realm.
Right.
We don't know how these other people are going to take it. So when we say, okay, we went over here and did X, you know, in this country, and sent the military there, all these folks see is, they don't see, oh, military, moral cause, we did this for the greater good. No, they see you went over there and you were violent.
Right.
And you got what you wanted to get through violence.
Yeah.
So even though I'm on this block right here, they ain't in Afghanistan, I got to use violence to get what I want.
To get what I want. Wow.
So
perspective is everything.
Yeah. Especially perspective when you know that you're being viewed through this lens.
Okay.
While this other person is being viewed through this lens.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So you accept your lens. You accept the criminality. You accept the criminal code. You wear it as a badge of honor. These other people, they expect the Constitution.
Okay.
And they wear that as a shield. So when we look at these two different things and you try to figure out why does one take their position over here, that's what society told them they were.
That's right.
Why does one take their position over here? That's what society told them they were. And each one accepted what we told them.
Wow.
So the message has to be different in order for the outcome to be different.
Absolutely.
And so how do we get there? That's the $100,000 question.
That was actually the next question I was getting ready to ask you. we're getting ready to kick off the Guns Down Life Matter initiative starting in Brunswick, Georgia. Actually, it was two more questions I wanted to talk to you about, because we talked about gangs, we talked about violence, we talked about gun violence, and how that led to your environment and your community. How you spoke about how one faction feels like it's their constitutional right. Okay, another faction, you're criminalized. You're saying, why are you carrying that gun? It's against the law. Like, you shouldn't have this on you. However, they're stereotype. Okay, October 23rd, 2021, Brunswick Judicial Court Circuit. The Ahmad Arbery case versus the McMichaels. The McMichaels and another guy on video killed Ahmad Arbery on video as 3 people. All right. 2 things happened there: gun violence and gang activity. What differentiates how they acted versus how a typical gang of what we stereotype as a gang acted? What was different about it?
Nothing except for the perception, right? Because even in the aftermath of that incident, first of all, I'll tell you something interesting about the Brunswick incident.
Okay.
And, how Noble played a part.
Okay.
In Brunswick.
Okay.
So our chapter was contacted by local officials in Brunswick to see what could be done to help heal that community.
Okay.
And so there was an interim police chief right at the beginning, well, in the aftermath of that incident.
Right.
And so myself and a group of individuals in Noble met with that interim chief and his staff.
Okay.
To help him and his department rebuild trust with that community. Because you understand that, one, there's some things that was not a police shooting, but the aftermath of that was how these individuals were viewed through what? That other lens.
The other lens. Yeah.
They got the Constitution. They got the benefit of the doubt. They were arrested initially.
Right.
Their story was believed that, hey, we foiled a crime in progress.